Good evening, this is Mr. Wintermelon. So you have learned about the non-cyclic food chain. Because energy get lost to the surrounding, then you will end somewhere. But for carbon cycle, it's a cycle, so it's kind of never ending. So by the end of this lesson, you should be able to describe how carbon is cycled or recycled in an ecosystem and outline the role of forest and ocean as carbon sinks. So what is carbon sink? You will learn about it in this lesson. So as mentioned, the flow of energy is linear, but carbon or the nutrient is recycled. So how is the nutrient recycled? So let's start with a plant. For plant, it undergoes respiration to release carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. But at the same time, the plant can also photosynthesize. So it will absorb carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, turning it into food so that animal can eat the plant. So after eating the starch or the glucose that the plant make, the animal will undergo respiration and release carbon dioxide back into the atmosphere. But remember, some of the carbon from the plant are undigested material, so they will be egested as feces. But don't worry, the feces will not stay as feces forever, and the animal will not live forever. The animal will experience the same fate as its feces, which means they will get decomposed by the decomposer, be it bacteria, some bugs, or fungi. And of course, it's not just animal and feces that will get decomposed. Plant upon death will also get decomposed. And this decomposition will release carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. But wait, there are still more. If plant and animal get buried in a nice way, after millions of years, they might become fossil fuels. This process is called fossilization. And when humans go and burn fossil fuels, this process is known as combustion. It will release carbon dioxide back into the atmosphere. So you can see there are a few ways which carbon dioxide can be added into the atmosphere, be it respiration, combustion, or decomposition. But there's only one way for carbon dioxide to be absorbed from the atmosphere. So a simple summary of the carbon cycle is this. Absorption of carbon dioxide from the atmosphere can only be done through photosynthesis, while the release of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere can be done through respiration, combustion, and decomposition. So that's about the thing that you have to know about carbon cycle. The balance is important. So you can kind of see that, oh, photosynthesis, you need more of it. And here is why. Carbon cycle will ensure there's a continuous supply of carbon dioxide for plant to carry out photosynthesis and us to have food. So it will enable energy to flow through the ecosystem as carbon compound stores the energy. This is a fancy way of saying glucose stores the energy. And because carbon dioxide is a greenhouse gas, the level of carbon dioxide will affect the global temperature. So having a balance of the carbon cycle will help to maintain the temperature of the Earth. This is to ensure that the Earth doesn't overheat or doesn't overcool. But of course, the problem is now we are burning a lot of fossil fuels and releasing a lot of carbon dioxide to the atmosphere. So this is why it's important for us to store the carbon dioxide that is in the atmosphere somewhere to prevent them from exerting greenhouse effect. So where do we store them? Carbon sink is an area that stores carbon compounds. for an indefinite period. That means it stores them for a very long period of time. And carbon sink will store more carbon than it releases. What are the examples? Ocean and forest. Why ocean stores a lot of carbon is because it absorbs the carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, since carbon dioxide can dissolve in the water. And after dissolution, aquatic plant can use it for photosynthesis and store them in the form of glucose. And when the ocean organism die, the carbon get buried in the sea. So the carbon dioxide is not released into the atmosphere. And this is why we see company drilling the ocean floor for oil, because carbon in the form of fossil fuels are stored down there. As for forests, it is pretty straightforward. Forests having many trees will enable photosynthesis to take place, and the carbon dioxide from the atmosphere can be stored as glucose or starch in the tree. And if the tree die and they get buried underground instead of decomposed in the air, they will get buried, and after millions of years they can become fossil fuels. So that's about it for the carbon cycle as well as this chapter. Join me in the next chapter to learn the impact of human on the environment.